Hey YouTube, what up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about something that happened a while ago. You know, this happened about more or less 2012, but I want to talk about it because I think it's worth mentioning. I think it's worth talking about. All right. So back in about 2012, the car company Acura um, had a commercial, right? And they sent they I guess used a casting company to cast for the commercial. And in the commercial casting sheet, they asked for an African American male with the following description: nice looking, friendly, not too dark. And they also said they would be willing to work with a major comedian. I had an article from CNN, and I'm going to read through this article and kind of give my thoughts and opinions about this, situation here. All right. So here we go. The title is Acura Apologizes for Seeking quote unquote not too dark actor by Alan Duke of CNN. All right, so Acura apologized Wednesday for a casting document that called for an African American actor who was quote unquote not too dark in the car company's Super Bowl ad. I kind of find that a little interesting. Usually when we hear like this type of stuff, usually it tends to refer to the women, but this time around it's kind of referring to the men, which is a little strange because usually when it comes to the men, it's like, the darker the better, you know? The controversial casting call document published Wednesday by the celebrity gossip site TMZ, quote unquote, pulls back the curtain on the widely known practice of casting based on skin tone in Hollywood, a longtime manager said. All right. So, for those of you watching, is this a surprise? Considering kind of like the society that we live in, the culture that we live in, the country that we live in, etc. Do you think that this would be a surprise? Or are you kind of like, like, oh, what else is new, right? TMZ reported that it got the audition posting from an African American actor who did not fit the profile and who was pissed. And that's a quote, by the way. The role, I wonder how he got that information. I don't know, but that's interesting. So I guess this dude felt some type of way about this, casting call description. Yeah, this black man probably felt some type of way about that. Understandably. You know. Next, the role was for an African American car dealer who would appear in a showroom scene with Jerry Seinfeld, and Jay Leno also appeared in the ad. So they would, this African American male would be working, and acting alongside Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno. So that would be, a bit of a come up for, an up and coming star, right? The sheet's role details read, quote unquote, nice looking, friendly, not too dark, will work with a major comedian. Acura spokesman Gary Robinson told CNN that the company did not know about the casting description until the TMZ story was published. All right. So this is what, Acura is saying here. Quote unquote, any of the creative directions didn't come from Acura, Robin says. Quote unquote, they would have come from the casting agency. So Acura apparently sent this out to a casting agency, and this is what the casting agency did, right? But then some people are like, well, shouldn't Acura still know about what the casting agency did before TMZ did this story? Since this is like a major multi-million dollar company, shouldn't they be aware of, the ads that are representing their company? But, perhaps they didn't know about that particular aspect of, the ad about, perhaps they didn't see the casting sheet, right? Let's see. Next. Kathy Carlton Casting, the agency hired by Acura to choose actors, declined comment. Interesting. An employee who answered the phone at the agency's Santa Monica, California office said they would defer to Acura's apology. So this casting company, they basically no comment, right? So they don't even want to defend themselves with this because they know, when you don't really have an argument to defend, or you don't really have a defense to what you've done, then usually they, tend to hide, and just avoid the situation. Quote unquote, we apologize to anyone offended by the language on the casting sheet used in the selection of actors for one of our commercials, Acura said in a statement to CNN. Quote unquote, we sought to cast an African American in a prominent role in the commercial, and we made our selection based on the fact that he was the most talented actor. Acura said it was, quote unquote, taking appropriate measures to ensure that such language is not used again in association with any work performed on behalf of our brand. All right. So Acura is saying they apologize, right? The other company, they not really, they ain't really saying much. All right. Next, longtime Hollywood manager Roger Neal said he was not shocked by a casting director, or he was not shocked that a casting director would choose based on skin tone. Okay, so he is a longtime Hollywood manager, and he's not shocked by this, right? Because he knows how this industry works. It's very looks driven in Hollywood, right? That's why people invest so much in hair, makeup, stylists, plastic surgery, cosmetic procedures, lighting. It's very, special effects is very look driven, of course, So this Hollywood manager says, quote unquote, people in the business a long time deal with this every day, he said. But Neal was shocked, but Neal, who has looked at a daily casting, but Neal, who has looked at daily casting breakdowns for 31 years, said he was surprised the description was written on a casting document. Quote unquote, I've never seen it written before. I've never seen it in writing before, Neal said. No one has been bold enough to put it in writing. Right. And that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is like, usually this type of stuff isn't put on paper and writing on record. Usually this stuff is done kind of like more covertly and behind the scenes. But yeah. But let's see. The publication of the casting sheet, quote unquote, pulls back the curtain on the casting practice, he said. Neal said he suspects that it was an inexperienced casting assistant who wrote the description. Sounds pretty inexperienced. Casting agents have told him in the past that his clients were too dark or not black enough, Neal said. Which is strange. It's like I guess they want someone maybe safe brown, someone who's dark enough to know that they're for the audience to know that okay, this is a black person, but light enough so it's not quote unquote off-putting to middle America, aka white folks, right? A euphemism in Hollywood is to tell a rejected actor that the casting director, quote unquote, went a different direction when their race cost them an acting job, Neal said. SAG-AFTRA, or SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA, the actors union, immediately reached out to the casting office when the notice was brought to their attention so they could discuss the specific language used, quote unquote. Despite the intention behind it, the notice was clearly not as well stated as it could have been, and this is an area in which SAG-AFTRA's Equal Employment Opportunities and Diversity staff can help, the union said. Alright, so that's the end of the article. There you have it. Overall, my personal opinion is just that it wasn't. In some ways, it was a surprise. In some ways, it wasn't. Usually, when I, kind of hear this type of language, it's often actually directed at like black females. But it does kind of go towards black males too, but I think black males are sort of given a more slack when it comes to this sort of a situation, because black males, specifically dark-skinned black males, are often used to represent black people as a whole. Honestly, like you get the dark-skinned black man in the television show or the movie or the ad or whatever. It's like, hey, that's our black quota. That we got our black representation right there. But if it was a black woman, it kind of sometimes is like, oh, this is like she's representing black women, but the black man, he's representing black people, right? Yeah. And I remember when this originally aired on TMZ, I remember actually seeing this. And, Van had wound up speaking a little bit about it. And, Van is like, kind of like the younger black guy, the younger dark-skinned black guy, shaved head or a dark Caesar. I think it's probably shaved head. But yeah, he wound up, speaking about it a little bit on the show. And of course, understandably offended, of course, and however, I've heard that they said that this casting, as far as the not too dark, was for lighting and special effects purposes. It's like to avoid a lighting and special effects issue. That was something that I heard thrown around out there, because I guess there's a, when it comes to, I guess, lighting the scene for darker skinned folks is more difficult, or either doing special effects on darker skinned folk is more difficult. That's what I've heard, all right? And the guy that they wind up choosing to act in the commercial, kind of like maybe peanut butter, light skin type of look, right? we still, based on how he looked, he wasn't like racially ambiguous, so we kind of knew he was black, right? So they didn't go like that far with it, but safe brown, maybe, I've heard that term thrown around, you know, just, dark enough to know that he's black, but not too dark, right? And I feel like, I mentioned this in the previous video about the acceptable dark skin versus, dark skinned folks who don't seem so acceptable. And I think featureism plays a part in this too, you know. But that's another video though. That's another video. So how do you guys feel about this? Do you feel like, it's okay? Do you think it's all right? Do you think that do you feel offended? Are you indifferent to it? As far as my personal opinion, I feel like Acura, they, Acura and this casting agency or whatever, this bum casting agency, at the end of the day, they have a right to have who they want in their commercials. All right, they do. However, they should have just specified, hey, we're looking for a light-skinned African American male actor who's nice looking and friendly, versus saying African American male, friendly, nice looking, not too dark, right? I think that if they just phrased it better, it probably would have worked better for them. I don't understand that phrasing though, because when they put it like, oh, not too dark, that comes off as like negative, right? That comes off as offensive. It's like, hey, because like, black people are considered like a dark people, So it's like, okay, so what do you mean not too dark, But what do you guys think? Feel free to let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.